The lion surges forward like a force that breaks the still rhythm of the grassland. This predator does not need to display dominance. It simply closes the distance with the confidence of a ruler. The prey is left with almost no room to turn as the pressure steadily tightens. Even large and highly alert rivals can lose their footing when that presence moves in. And that is what defines the lion's position in every hunt across the savanna. The lion is one of the few big cats that turns strength into a structured way of life. Within the pride, lionesses lead the hunt, protect the young, and maintain social cohesion. Male lions apply pressure through size, their roar, and the mane of a territorial guardian. Each individual holds a different role, yet all contribute to the authority of the pride. That is why the lion is not only the ruler of the savanna, but also a key force in maintaining the balance of the grassland. Under the scorching sun of the African continent, the hippopotamus stands like a moving fortress weighing over 4,000 pounds. Spending much of its time submerged in still water, that slow appearance conceals a highly territorial and defensive nature. A single misstep from any intruder is enough to trigger a sudden burst of force, turning its massive jaws into a formidable weapon. But when night falls, the balance begins to shift. Away from the safety of the water, the hippo becomes isolated in the presence of highly skilled predators. Its thick skin, once a source of resilience, is no longer an effective shield against coordinated pressure and endurance tactics from a lion pride. The grassland hunters move in sync, repeatedly applying pressure from behind, using collective weight and persistence to wear down the massive animal. Each attempt to push back is quickly offset by the pride's agility. This intense encounter becomes a test of limits and endurance. If it cannot return to the water in time, the exposed giant gradually loses energy under sustained pressure, providing a vital source of nourishment for the pride. However, the line between success and danger remains thin. With a bite force of around 1,800 pounds per square inch, a single well-timed counter from the hippo can immediately halt the advance. In the cycle of survival, strength is not defined by power alone, but by recognizing the fine boundary between risk and restraint among nature's most formidable animals. On the sunlit floodplains of the Serengeti, calm is only a fragile mask. Here, spotted hyenas, Opportunists weighing around 140 pounds move with calculated chaos, confronting the disciplined order of a lion pride. What stands between them is more than a struggle for food. It is a long-standing rivalry embedded in instinct. Their low, echoing calls rise like a challenge as they attempt to surround the lionesses. Yet that confidence fades the moment a manned figure steps out from the brush. Standing close to 4 feet at the shoulder, the male lion does not rely on strategy. It uses sheer power to break through the formation. In a sudden surge, confusion spreads through the hyena clan as they recognize the cost of crossing into claimed ground. A single strike from that mass of muscle is enough to break the resistance of the slowest individual, restoring order through overwhelming force. The confrontation does not always end with adults. In an effort to reduce future competition, lions may target young hyenas if their den is discovered. This is not driven by revenge, but by a practical survival strategy shaped by long-term pressure. As the encounter settles, it leaves behind a quiet but firm message. This land is already claimed. In this demanding cycle, understanding one's place is essential to survival. The oryx stands as a proud duelist of the desert, its long, straight horns rising like sharpened blades. With powerful muscles and a weight of around 400 pounds, it does not hesitate to use these natural weapons to push back even the most formidable predators. Exceptional heat tolerance and endurance allow the oryx to command harsh regions of Namibia, where survival is measured in every scarce drop of water. On damp floodplains, natural gathering points for these long-horned animals, with horns stretching over 3 feet, 2 young lions wait with patience. A calculated stalking sequence begins. Rather than confronting the defensive horns head-on, one lion reveals itself, guiding the target toward a partner already in position. The oryx is not easily pressured. It repeatedly lowers its head, turning its horns into an almost impenetrable barrier. Then, in a brief instant, the momentum shifts. Taking advantage of a single opening, the lion releases a surge of strength, creating a powerful impact. The oryx resists and struggles to hold its ground, but against the combined strategy and force of the predators, its efforts gradually lose ground. What remains is a hard-earned lesson in persistence and authority within the balance of the wild. On the sunlit grassland, a confrontation unfolds between a solitary giant and a highly coordinated hunting pack, charged with intensity. An adult lioness weighing around 300 pounds stands firm like a muscular stronghold against the overwhelming presence of nearly 20 African wild dogs. This is not merely a contest over food, but a demanding test between collective strength and the authority of a top predator. Facing a pack capable of maintaining speeds close to 37 miles per hour, the lioness does not waste energy on prolonged chases. Instead, it uses dominance to disrupt the opponent's coordination. Through short, explosive bursts, it breaks through their layered formation, asserting control over the territory with decisive pressure. By targeting key positions with direct strategic actions, the lioness may bring down slower individuals to re-establish order. This behavior reflects not only survival competition, but also a natural mechanism that helps regulate population balance among apex predators. Under the intense heat of the savanna basin, a presence weighing around 13,000 pounds stands like an unyielding fortress. With skin nearly 1 inch thick and strong herd intelligence, an adult African elephant has almost no natural challengers. Its presence alone signals authority, enough to make even the most confident predators keep their distance. But in the wild, a minor leg injury or a moment of isolation can shift that position. Taking advantage of the slowed movement of a vulnerable giant, a pair of lions remains persistent, turning the encounter into a demanding test of endurance. Without relying on display, they focus on timing and pressure, using the elephant's disrupted breathing in an open clearing. The encounter settles into stillness, shaped by the quiet rules of survival. A source of nearly 600,000 calories becomes available, enough to sustain a pride of around 15 individuals for several days. From a distance, another adult stands watching, its gaze reflecting an awareness of the cost of isolation across the open land. What remains on the grassland is not simply an ending, but a reminder of the discipline and cohesion that define survival in a demanding natural world. Under the intense heat of the dry season, the river is no longer a place of safety. A Nile crocodile, about 15 feet long, and carrying a bite force of up to 3,700 pounds per square inch, finds itself caught along a fragile line of survival. As water levels recede, this king of the wetlands is forced onto land, stepping into the domain of the savanna's most coordinated hunters. The lion pride detects the vulnerability. They do not rush in blindly. Instead, a pincer formation takes shape, closing off every path back to the water. the encounter becomes a measured contest of pressure. On the dry ground, the crocodile's limited mobility becomes a critical disadvantage, and its dominant role begins to give way under the pride's coordination and strategy. At this boundary between water and dust, raw power yields to collective precision. Another chapter of the savanna comes to a close, leaving a clear reminder: no position remains unchallenged when nature begins to shift the balance. In the frozen wilderness, the grizzly bear emerges as a massive force of nature. It does not need display or spectacle. Even a single movement can tighten the air around it. Each step carries immense weight, and every sudden surge radiates overwhelming power. Here, dominance does not come from a pack, but from a solitary ruler. The grizzly bear embodies wild strength in its most primal and formidable form. Summer in the wilderness is not only a season of abundance, but also a season of relentless pursuit. Elk, muscular athletes, weighing around 1,000 pounds, move in herds, relying on collective vigilance and speed to keep danger at a distance. But for the grizzly bear, moments of disorder within that formation can open an opportunity. Tension rises as the bear gradually pressures its rival toward muddy riverbanks. There, the elk's speed advantage fades across slick ground and strong currents. With a bite force of about 1,200 pounds per square inch and overwhelming weight, the grizzly turns the terrain into an advantage, transforming every approach into a test of endurance and composure. When the water slowly grows calm again, the valley is left with only the wind and the heavy breathing of the one that remains standing. A successful hunt can provide more than 100,000 calories, precious energy for enduring harsh challenges ahead. In the world of the grizzly, nature is not merely a backdrop, but the force that decides who has the strength to continue in the cycle of survival. In the wilds of Alaska, one of the planet's most remarkable biological events is nearing its final stage. Millions of sockeye salmon are making their last journey, traveling hundreds of miles upstream to sustain the next generation. But at Brooks Falls, a massive obstacle is already waiting. For the grizzly bear, this is the period of hyperphagia, a frantic race to store energy before winter pulls temperatures down to minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit. The battle at the waterfall is not simply a hunt, but a harsh ranking of power. Each adult bear must build a fat reserve as much as 6 inches thick beneath the skin. At the most valuable positions, where the rushing current forces salmon to leap high, dominant individuals only need to wait and receive a rich flow of calories. With claws about 4 inches long, they employ the refined strategy of high grading, selecting only the fattiest portions. It is a cold calculation designed to take in as much as 90 pounds of food each day, an amount of energy equal to hundreds of human meals, simply to endure 6 long months of hibernation. As the last fish begin turning a deep red, the feast also starts to fade. The winners leave the riverbank with massive bodies, carrying immense reserves to face the northern winter. In nature's unforgiving cycle, the end of the salmon journey becomes the beginning of survival for the ruler of the high country. In Lamar Valley, the kingdom of giants, territory is more than land. It is a pass to survival. When 2 adult grizzlies meet, the air grows heavy with the pressure of dominance. This is not merely a dispute, but a test of endurance and solitary status in the heart of the wild. The opening begins with echoing roars, an attempt to impose pressure before physical force takes over. When patience runs out, an enormous mass of momentum surges forward at nearly 35 miles per hour. Heavy swipes carrying tremendous impact collide with each other, producing sounds that seem to shake the stillness of the great wilderness. Here, greater weight and seasoned technique become the ultimate advantages in deciding which one claims the higher ground. Nature also reveals a harsh hierarchy among its animals. Although both belong to the bear family, the black bear often weighs only about half as much as its rival. Faced with the overwhelming presence of the plateau's dominant ruler, the black bear is often forced to abandon its travel corridor and retreat into trees rising more than 20 feet high to preserve its safety. When the dust settles, the natural order is restored. In the world of the grizzly, absolute power is the only language that maintains respect. The victor does not merely hold the territory, but also confirms the presence of an uncrowned ruler, continuing the endless cycle of survival. In the remote valleys of North America, the gray wolf rules as a master of discipline. Each individual weighs around 110 pounds, yet the true strength of the pack lies in its ability to read the movements of its companions almost instantly. On the other side stands the grizzly bear, a living fortress that rarely seeks conflict without reason. The relationship between the two species becomes a calculated struggle for control around valuable food sources. When the giant grizzly buries animal remains beneath soil and fallen leaves to protect its energy reserve, the distinctive scent can still drift through the cold air, awakening the instincts of nearby hunters. The wolf pack begins a centrifugal encirclement strategy, moving at speeds of up to 40 miles per hour and forming tightening running loops designed to disrupt the bear's focus. In response, the grizzly rises onto its hind legs, revealing claws about 4 inches long, a firm warning of the limits of its tolerance. In this tense standoff, victory does not belong to the most aggressive contender. The outcome is determined by a calculation of survival. Which side will step back first to avoid paying too high a cost for an uncertain reward? Beneath the shade of Alaska's pine forests, a tense encounter slowly begins to take shape. The moose, the giant of the northern wetlands, appears with a shoulder height of nearly 7 feet, antlers spreading more than 6 feet wide, and a body mass that can reach about 1,600 pounds. It is not simply a large target. It is an opponent capable of making even powerful predators hesitate. On the other side stands the grizzly bear, an animal that rarely enters risk without first recognizing an advantage. Rather than confronting directly, it often studies the terrain, waiting for the moment when the moose is pushed into shallow water or slippery mud flats, where its towering legs lose some of their natural agility. At that point, the rhythm of the encounter begins to intensify. Water splashes outward, mud churns beneath heavy movement, and each approach becomes a test of endurance, distance, and composure. As the tension stretches on, the most formidable trait of the grizzly bear gradually becomes clear: patience. It does not rush to waste energy, maintaining steady pressure while waiting for a moment of hesitation from a young, aging, or inexperienced moose. In the wild, advantage does not always belong to the larger animal. Sometimes it belongs to the one that understands exactly when to wait, when to press forward, and when the long pursuit must come to an end. Dawn over the Yellowstone Plateau awakens massive silhouettes within the cold mist. Herds of American bison, bodies that can weigh up to 2,200 pounds, stand firmly across the prairie like moving fortresses. With powerful shoulders and horns nearly 2 feet long, they form a defensive line strong enough to make most predators hesitate. Yet along the edge of that motion, the grizzly bear appears as a patient strategist. In nature, even collective strength can experience moments of imbalance. The grizzly does not rush forward. It keeps its distance, observing and waiting for a brief disruption within the bison formation. When the ground trembles beneath a charge reaching speeds of about 35 miles per hour from an adult defending the herd, the predator immediately steps back. And within that moment of confusion, opportunity begins to emerge. Its goal is not to confront the entire herd, but to identify a younger individual moving more slowly and easier to separate from the protective circle. Soon after, the mother turns back with determined reactions, delivering powerful kicks to protect her calf. But in encounters like this, even a brief moment of hesitation can shift the outcome. The confrontation closes not with dramatic displays of violence, but with the quiet rules of natural selection. The herd continues moving forward, while the grizzly gathers the energy needed to endure the winter drawing closer. The lion holds its position through strength and the unity of the pride. Each hunt reveals just how precise and controlled that order can be. Every individual contributes to the authority of the grassland's dominant force. That is why the lion remains an irreplaceable presence across the savanna. If you want to follow more stories like this, tap like and subscribe.